Okay, so we're back, and today we're going to finish off our piece of artwork by working on the background of our artwork. As we saw in our videos and our pictures that were done by Yayoi Kusama, we saw lots and lots and lots of dots. So of course there are going to be dots in the background. The only other thing you could do in the background is a net, and a net is exactly what it sounds like. It's a net. She would paint a net in the background. So if you wanted to do a net, you could. You could pick a color that you wanted to make your negative space in that net, and you could color around it where you can create that net. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So let's just say I decided I was going to create a net that had white in it, and the rest of the net, the background part of the net was black, okay? So what I would do is I would take my black marker, and I'm going to start kind of up in this corner, and I'm going to kind of make little shapes, but leave some space that's white in between them. So I might make some little kind of shapes like this, and leave a little space between them, so it kind of looks like a net. So I'm repeating, once again, I'm repeating some sort of shape, some sort of organic or free-form shape, because that's what she did. She used a lot of free-form, but she did use geometric when she did her dots. So I'm going to kind of make thin, very thin. They were very thin lines that she made. I'm going to do the best I can, but I'm going to create this pattern like net in the background of this picture using black, and in this case I'm probably going to use white, unless I feel like going back and coloring in between. But normally I wouldn't do that simply because I don't like to color after I've colored black. So notice I'm kind of going along the edge here and adding so that it looks like it goes off the page. And I would just keep continuing to do whatever shape, whatever organic like shape, I would continue to do something similar to that, leaving a little bit of lines, almost like creating a net kind of look to my picture behind it, so that this way it looks a little bit like what she would do and how she would create her art. Now I know it's kind of tedious. Don't be tempted to make your shapes too big. Her shapes were not very big. They were quite small, and this is supposed to be more for the meditative process or the relaxing process than a frustrating process. You're just supposed to repeat these little shapes over and over again until you fill up the entire page. So I'll be back when mine is done. Now you'll see I've started to get to the edge of the pumpkin. When I get to the edge of the pumpkin, I'm kind of going along with the shape of the pumpkin to give the illusion that it's going behind the pumpkin, so that it doesn't look like I am just stopping the shape or the pattern of that net that she created around that pumpkin. So I kind of go with the flow, kind of go with the shape, and keep going with the net that goes around the whole thing. Some of my shapes are getting too similar, so I want to kind of change them up a little bit. I don't want them to be exactly the same. I want them to look a little different. So that they're not all the same. It makes it more interesting if they're different. If I do everything the same, it kind of gets boring. So I'll be back again. I'm going to do a little bit more and then show you my picture again. You can see that my pumpkin is starting to look like it's floating, and that's okay because that's the way her work sometimes appeared. It didn't necessarily look like it was grounded or realistic. She was known more as a pop artist or a abstract kind of more modern type of artist. So it's okay if it doesn't look like it's grounded or attached to anything. Like I normally tell you, like make it look like it's sitting on the table, or that it's not floating in the air. For this particular type of project, it's a little bit different. It kind of looks like it's floating and kind of gives it that free kind of feeling, which is I think what she was going for, kind of a free feeling, a free form feeling of shapes and you know, these aren't exact rectangles. They shouldn't be exact rectangles. They should be kind of irregular. They go behind the stem and kind of just interesting. I find her fascinating. I love to look at her work because it's fun. I like polka dots, as you see on my cart. I've really been inspired by her in recent months. I don't know why, just something just stood out to me in her artwork, and I started to really enjoy learning more about her in my own time. I think that her art is kind of unique and neat. She's been around for a long time, but only in more recent years has she become more well known. And I'll be back when my artwork is completely finished. Okay, so there's my finished artwork. Now remember, when you do yours, you do not have to use the same color schemes that I used. I used orange for my pumpkin and brown for my stem. Sometimes her pumpkins were not orange. Sometimes they were red or other colors. So you can kind of play around with what you've decided to do. You can create whatever background shape you want. It needs to be an organic shape though, not a geometric shape, so I wouldn't pick circles or squares or rectangles. I would make something that was kind of irregular. I know that some of mine might look like rectangles, but they were not intentionally made as rectangles. So today you're going to finish this piece and hopefully we'll get it done and it'll look really good and just in time for the fall. Enjoy!